Hi there, this is Theresa. Welcome back to the channel. If you are a current subscriber, welcome. If you are new, we're going to take a look and see what are the lessons that Spirit is wanting to teach you. If you are being drawn to this message or it is coming across your newsfeed, there is some type of nugget of information and wisdom to help guide you at this time. If you do want your own personalized in-depth reading, check out my website, TimelessDivineTarot.com. All right, we're going to look and see what are the lessons in the past, the present, and the near future for the collective watching this message. What is the lessons in the past, the present, and the near future? So your past lesson is being mindful of conflict. It says, name one person with whom you've had a power conflict with. Write an extensive description of the nature that struggle without assigning blame. Only describe your own issues. Your goal is to be mindful that remaining in a conflict is a choice. So your lesson in the past was to understand that somebody that you were in conflict with, that this was a part of the struggle is maybe you were only wanting to blame the person that you were in conflict with. Maybe you weren't wanting to take ownership. You weren't wanting to take responsibility of the part that you played in this conflict. So let's clarify, why is be mindful of the conflict? There's been a power struggle here. The Eight of Pentacles. This could have been somebody you worked with. This could have been somebody that you wanted to work things out with someone in the past, but maybe you found that they weren't working with you, or you weren't willing to do what was necessary. Maybe you weren't willing to put in the work. Maybe you just wanted to blame them for things not working out. And that conflict is recognizing you only need to have control over yourself. You need to be mindful of what you are not doing, not what someone else is doing. You can't control other people. You can only control yourself. So the lesson in the past was to learn that this power struggle that you were in with maybe your boss or a coworker or your family member or a friend or your partner, your lover, your confidant, whoever you had a power struggle with in the past, this power struggle was because you weren't willing to do the work to look at yourself in the situation. You were only blaming the other person, and it takes two to tango. There's always responsibility on both sides. So being accountable for situations in the past. So that was your lesson in the past. What is the present lesson that you're supposed to be learning? Identity change. It says, identify one small change that you've been postponing that would improve your life. This could be anything from cleaning a drawer to getting a new hairstyle. Change symbolically can be frightening. Your goal is to recognize that you postpone even small, insignificant changes because intuitively you know that they can ignite powerful ones. So your lesson right now is there was something that you needed to identify currently, or you need to identify that needs to change. It could be a habit, it could be a belief system, it could be a way that you deal with maybe conflict. Maybe you need to identify that even something small change could be a significant impact for you. So let's clarify what this identity change is. There is a key portal here. There's a key code within this message for some of you. You may have found that you lost your keys, or something with the keys is coming out very strong with this message. The Hangman and the Ten of Wands. So you are maybe at a impasse where you've not wanted to sacrifice something or let something go, and that is part of the change. It could be that you didn't want to take accountability or responsibility of the situation in the past, and you're still holding on to it. You're still harboring maybe anger or resentment towards this person that you had conflict in the past. And your current lesson is identify defeat where defeat needs to be owned, where the Ten of Wands is taking accountability, taking the ownership of recognizing that you can only control yourself. And you need to really analyze with this Hangman. This is talking about you have been sacrificing peace potentially in your life because you've not been wanting to identify that the change that you wanted from someone else in this past with this conflict is actually the change that you're supposed to take within yourself. So right now, your goal is to recognize that there is an ownership here. There's an accountability factor of not only identifying the change, but taking the first steps of how you interact. You know, with this energy in the past, it could have been that your ego or your pride got the best of you, and you really didn't want to identify that maybe you were in the wrong, that maybe you did need to take that L or take that ownership over that situation with this person, that you wanted things to work out, but you just wanted your person to do all the work, or you wanted your person to take all the responsibility. And the current lesson is saying, you know what? Identify that you have the key to unlock this defeated energy, because there's something you didn't want to sacrifice, you didn't want to let go of. And right now it could be your ego, it could be your pride, it could be that you have to identify that you have to have ownership over this 10 of Wands, this defeated energy, that you have to identify that change starts with you. So what is the near future lesson with this situation that the collective is going through? What is the near future lesson that Spirit wants you to be aware of? What is the near future lesson? To remain centered. It says, focus on conscious tranquility, which is your peace. No matter how stressful the day is, your intention is to remain centered and calm. Your goal is to learn that you can control your psychic energy. So your near future lesson, because of this conflict you experienced in the past, this power struggle, right now in the current, you're identifying that something has to be changed, something within yourself. And part of that change here in the near future lesson is about you're not remaining centered. You're not remaining balanced. Maybe you're getting upset. Maybe you're yelling, you're arguing, you're fighting for you thinking you're right. Maybe your ego is getting the best of you in this situation. Clarify this, remain centered. Spirit is saying that you're needing to bear fruit. Okay, we got the King of Swords and we got the Page of Cups. So you're needing to bear fruit to understand intelligently analyzing the situation in the near future is you have to be more sympathetic and empathetic here with your person, your coworker, your boss, your friend, your family member, whoever you had conflict with in the past. You have to realize here in the near future that if you want to make a change, you want a different outcome than what happened in the past. Right now, you have to identify the change. You have to identify within yourself what you can change. You can't change your person. You can only change yourself and how you interact with the situation. And your goal is to learn how to maintain control. Be very analytical and be very conscious with what is your intuition telling you. What is your intuition telling you about what you need to do to remain calm? Do you need to go for a walk? Do you need to meditate? Do you need to journal? Do you need to listen to music to get you into a calmer place? Instead of being reactive with that King of Swords. King of Swords energy is somebody who is very cutthroat with their words, very much speaks sometimes before thinking too quickly. They don't necessarily lead with a compassionate or emotional type mentality when they're in a fight or flight type war with somebody, because maybe you're somebody who always wants to be right. Maybe you feel like you never do any wrong. And there's a need right now to identify that something has to change. There has to be a different outcome. And part of that is taking and realizing that accountability right now is that change, that you have to let something go within yourself, within your thought process. And here in the near future, in order to get there, you have to intentionally remain calm when you get into this situation. When there is a conflict with you and your boss, or you and your friend, or you and your partner, you and your spouse, whoever you're interacting with. And maybe it's not just one person, maybe it's multiple people. Maybe you find that you're constantly wanting other people to do the work, but you're not doing the work yourself. And Spirit is saying you have to recognize the change starts with you. You have the key to unlock the happiness that you want, but you have to accept the defeat of a responsibility on yourself, that you have to let go and change something within yourself. And here in the near future, the change is that you need to be able to remain calm when you get upset, when you get angry, when you get disappointed, when you feel conflicted with somebody and you feel a power struggle. It's not about right or wrong. It's about understanding and remaining calm in a stressful situation. And the King of Swords is letting you know that you need to analyze and process. Maybe you need to think before you speak. Maybe you need to do some journaling. Maybe you need to be empathetic and compassionate to your person that you're interacting with, your friend, your family member, your coworker. Maybe you need to look at things from their perspective and before you respond. And that's what your near future lesson is going to be here for you, is understanding and identifying those things that's going to help you to make the necessary changes. Let's get one spirit animal of advice to close out this message for the collective. If you could please like, comment, share, and subscribe, I would appreciate it. What is the spirit animal that Spirit is sending to you as confirmation that this is your message? And what is the advice with the spirit animal wanting you to emanate this energy? What is the spirit animal? The bat. This is about transition. It says, you must pay attention to the signs around you. The transition may seem frightening at first, but you must let go of old habits and patterns that are no longer serving your highest calling. They will only hinder your growth. So if you have been very much in your ego, you've consciously conflicted with people around you, you've been in a power struggle, always wanting to be right, everybody else is wrong. Spirit is saying you're at a transitionary period. If you're seeing bats, this is your confirmation that you are in a transitionary period. The lesson right now is you have to identify that you have to change. You have to make a sacrifice of a change if you want a different outcome. And in the near future, the transition is, instead of there being a power struggle and wanting everyone else around you to do the work, you're needing to remain centered and you're needing to transition into a more calm, tranquility, and more peaceful energy. If you want to be in a better place with the people around you, you have to be more empathetic. You have to be more compassionate. You have to be more intuitive. You have to maybe read the room, so to speak. And that is the transition, is you have to think before you react in a situation. And understanding, the bat is about understanding that you're going from a transition of learning in the past that the way you handled with conflict and the current energy you're identifying, it didn't work. It didn't work in your favor. And now here in the near future, you're learning what will work in your favor is when you transition into a more calm, serene energy. And ask yourself in those moments, why am I going through this? What is it that I need to know? What is it I need to understand? What is it I need to learn about myself and how I need to interact with those around me? Okay, that is what I have for you. I do want to thank you for allowing me to read for you. If you do want your own personalized in-depth reading, check out my website, TimelessDivineTarot.com. If you could please like, comment, share, and subscribe, I'd appreciate it. Have a beautiful day. Bye.